You think 72 degrees is too hot and the AC is broken? Better get used to now. I work on HVAC controls and building automation. I was called over to a lab building to look at something that somebody didn't know how it worked, so they naturally assumed it was a controls problem. As I stood in the hallway and explained to the building manager what the real issue is, a professor stepped out of his office and asks if we are the maintenance guys. His lab is too hot. The building manager politely gestured for me to assist the professor since I am responsible for the HVAC. This is pretty annoying for me because I am supposed to work off of tickets assigned by my dispatcher, rather than just doing random jobs for people that pull me aside. I don't want to be rude, so I put a smile on my face and walk into this hot lab. He shows me the thermostat, which is displaying 72 degrees, the normal set point across campus. 72 is the hard limit we set in all offices and labs to conserve energy. A lot of people try to come up with reasons to get it lowered, like their doctor told them they need it lowered for health reasons, or they strain muscles easily, and other weird stuff that ultimately never works in the long run. I tell this guy the first can't change the set point lower than 72 due to the standards set by the campus. He then takes me to his other lab, which he says is working normally. He takes me to the adjacent lab next door, which is connected to this one through a set of double doors. This adjacent lab was cold. 65 degrees. He shows me the thermostat, it reads 65. I show him the set point is actually 72. I tell him that it's cold because there is a problem with the system and I now need to fix it. He looks at me like he just realized his whole reality just got flipped upside down. I tell him if he needs the set point lower than 72, he needs to email the energy manager and request an exemption. The mechanics fix the problem with the reheat coil and both rooms are maintaining 72 degrees. After lunch I check my phone for any new work orders. There's one for that same room. I open it up and the professor had wrote in the description of the problem, room needs to be 68 due to sensitive and expensive equipment. The previous technician did not fix the problem. I close the ticket and put in the notes, please email the energy manager to request an exemption like I explained earlier. Ticket complete. Not an HVAC guy, but have had call-outs for issues like this. A couple of psychologists put in recs for rooms being too hot. Go to check as our boss showed set point of 24°C and room temp of 24°C. One of them is on a rant because there shouldn't be any heat because we turned it off. See, it's on the X. I had to take a breath to explain that it was a plus, not an X, and they had actually cranked the heat up, not turned it off. Too bad the assistant professor lacked the intellect to hear when you told him the campus has all thermostats set for 72. If he listened, he would still have a 65-degree lab. I've worked in analytical chemistry and knew where this was going. Yes, the ambient temp needs to be 68°F and/or 20°C. I also am familiar with the IT ticket system law. As a lab scientist, depending on the type of lab it was, I can confirm that 72°F is too hot. It makes it harder for cold storage units, and sometimes even incubators, to maintain temperature, and they experience larger fluctuations, which can endanger precious samples and reagents. But yes, they need to take it up with the campus energy manager. My institution allows a plus 2°F degree adjustment via a given room's thermostat. Users can set whatever temp they want, but they only get 2 degrees change either way. The HVAC controls group says that seems to satisfy most users. It might be true. It might not be. But if it was, the exemption should have been filed a long time ago. Back in the day when I was working as an electrical laborer, we got to spend a hot Saturday morning Running an extension cord 100 meters across a car park to keep the machinery running in a lab. 100 meters drum of armored 3-phase cable. A couple of plugs and a couple of security guards. All installed before the emergency power ran out of juice. Security guards because in theory you could drive over that cable, but no one really wanted to test it. They had a bunch of gas chromatographs. The older ones that take a couple of weeks to stabilize at working temperature. Doing that during harvest season would mean flying samples an hour to another lab. Several times a day. Cheaper to pay us. Had to convert that to C22. And I gotta say I'd also be complaining, haha, anything over 20 is way too hot. But I also have a heat sensitivity and have been known to get heat rashes above 18°C. 64F. One of the things I hate most in this world is a centralized heating system. Head office 4 provinces over should not have control of the temperature in our northern Canada stores. The AC is never cold enough in the summer. And it's not uncommon to see employees wearing winter jackets to work. Like, just let people control the temperature in their space. I know some apartments do it too. Occasionally you'll find a hotel like that too. It drives me insane because it's always too hot and there's nothing I can do about it but suffer in uncomfortable silence. So, I once had a job show us a safety video. It was mostly stupid. We joked about breakfasting on Doritos and orange soda after. That claimed it was easier to hurt yourself in the cold. Unless our video was wrong. Easily straining muscles seems like a Seuss reason. As someone who worked on a lab, 72 is a normal temperature to work on a lab. 65 would be a bit too cold for assumption of badic conditions. As someone who lives in the Celsius world, this entire post reads like it's from someone inside an active volcano. Tears of joy. Company rented a floor in a high-rise office building. There was an additional 5-ton unit that maintenance had cleaned up and made ready for us to use. But no. We installed a standalone unit in the server room and straight pumped it into the ceiling. Floor temps were a good 35 degrees warmer within 50 feet of that converted office than the rest of the floor. 72 degrees Fahrenheit is 22 degrees Celsius. 65 degrees Freedom Units is 18 degrees Celsius. This is not malicious compliance. This is you on a power trip. Man, I get the guy, cause 72 is still pretty hot to me. Taking his frustrations with cheap management out on you is excessive. That work order in particular is dumb. Your response to it was great though. Is this Celsius or Fahrenheit? Tears of joy. 72 degrees in Celsius would be almost 162 degrees Fahrenheit, and I can't say that'd be very comfortable. Edit. Humor is frowned upon apparently. I feel bad for the lab guy. I'm sure he knows what the lab needs to function properly and has said something. But it falls on deaf ears by management who wants to save a few bucks. Do you pay the electric bill? Geez man, lol. Some people are just too clever for themselves. 72 degrees too hot. I'm sitting here shivering and the room is 78 degrees. I'd be content to pump it to 90 degrees, but I'm the only one who seems to be cold. I work the front desk for a huge building on a university campus. It was brand new when I started, and obviously there were some kinks to work out. Fast forward to the next sentence and we would get complaints that a room that seats 100 people, or the auditorium that seated 300, was too hot or cold. No one ever liked hearing that. I would be happy to tell the facility manager and the room could probably be to their comfort level in a few hours. This isn't home where you bump the temp up a few digits. The HVAC kicks in. And ta-da.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.